Hello, everyone. My name is Allison Munzik that you're hearing. I'm not on camera, but I'm going to be helping provide some tech support for this session along with my colleague, Dave Lane. So I just first want to make sure that everyone can hear us and see some of the videos. If you all wouldn't mind just typing in the chat. If it's not open, if you hover your mouse up maybe towards the top or bottom, depending on your computer, you should see a little pop-up and you should see a chat feature. So if you could all just go ahead and maybe type in that you can hear me. I see that we have about 6 people on the line, and I know some people can hear me, so just want to make sure everyone's doing all right. Okay, great. Awesome. If anyone does have any issues, feel free to type in the chat, and either myself or my colleague will reach out and we will troubleshoot you. So I will pass this over now.
Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. Welcome to the AESC Cornell University information session for our upcoming 2020 and 2021 programs. My name is Gwyneth Dobson. I'm a director with Cornell University ILR School's Executive Education Group. ILR and the Association of Executive Search and Leadership Consulting have been partnering for quite a few years now to deliver learning programs for senior search and leadership consultants. So what we're going to do over the next half hour is give you some background about Cornell and AESC's partnership. We'll give you an overview of the 2 programs that are upcoming, the 2020 and 2021 programs. We have executives from AESC on the line. We also are joined by a Cornell ILR professor, Bradford Bell, who's going to talk through some of the material that he teaches in the AESC program and give you faculty perspective on that. As we move through the content, please feel free to post a question in the chat. There is a Q&A at the close of the session, so we'll most likely take the questions at the close, but feel free to post a question if you like, and respond to each other's comments if you like. And without further ado, I will introduce you to Karen Greenbaum, the President and CEO of AESC.
Hello there, I'm delighted to have you join us today. This is our a quick webinar, but hopefully you'll find it to be content rich and meet your needs. I'm delighted to actually provide the introduction for the Cornell program that we partner with and have been doing so for a number of years. So without any further ado, Gwen, why don't we switch to the next slide? First, a word about AESC. Many of you on the call are members, but not all of you. So let me just say a few words about AESC. We are the association representing the executive search and leadership consulting profession, and have been around for over 60 years now. So we're dedicated to strengthening leadership worldwide, as are our members. So that's a shared mission. Our members are also sharing a deep commitment to the highest quality standards. They may be large or small, global or local, but what they share in common is a commitment to quality standards in executive search and leadership consulting for the benefit of clients, of course, but also for the benefit of the profession. We like to think that we bring collaboration and innovative thinking to the profession and get you thinking beyond today. And Gwen is speeding me along by moving the slides one step ahead of me. So, so how does this program really work in terms of supporting your development? First of all, this program is for leaders in global executive search and leadership advisory solutions. It is not for entry-level consultants. We think it works best if you have 5 to 7 years or more. And so it is targeted to our more senior consultants. And we believe that anyone in executive search or leadership will get a lot out of this program. We do focus on, our own members focus on having deep industry and market and functional role expertise. And so we want to build a program around that, not to teach you industry expertise, but help you build your capabilities as a senior consultant. And we focus on executive talent strategy. So this is not a executive search 101 or leadership consulting 101, but rather much higher level strategic issues around executive talent. Importantly, this program will help you deepen your abilities to serve as a trusted advisor. In fact, we have a new course that has been added to this year's program focused on building client relationships for life. So we have a big ambitious plan, and we look forward to telling you more about it. So finally, this is the 9th year providing this program. Each year we enhance it, we tweak it, we make sure we're responding to the changing needs of our members. But this is the 9th year. We're going to engage with a strong cohort of people, both faculty and peers. And it's exciting to actually go to a program like this when you bring in people from all over the world and from different backgrounds where they can learn from each other and from leading faculty. We're going to tell you a little bit more about the structure, but we're doing something different starting this year. We began the program 9 years ago with an in-person 5-day program. We evolved to a virtual program to meet the needs of a global group of people. And we find that some like one and some like the other. So in 2020, we're going to do an in-person program in New York City. And in 2021, we will do a virtual webinar program, same faculty and peer sessions, but it will be virtual. And so you'll have a choice. Do you want to come to New York for 5 days? Or is it better for you to participate on a virtual basis through real-time webinars? So you'll hear more about that, and looking forward to sharing details.
Thanks, Karen. Again, I'm Gwen Dobson, a director with the Executive Education Group at Cornell ILR School. We're so happy to be partnered with AESC on this initiative. Brad will tell you a little bit more about the ILR School, but we are a leader in HR research and study and all of the social sciences of the workplace. And so to be partnered with AESC, the global leading professional association for search and leadership consultants, is quite exciting for us. Just to give you an overview of the approach we take to the program, we want to provide attendees with learning that will advance your consulting capabilities, whether it's in search or leadership consulting. As Karen mentioned, we're not focused on the activities specific to those areas, but instead in presenting universal topics that relate to those consulting skills. So understanding talent strategy within organizations in order to serve the client organizations you work with, and also enhancing your ability to act as a trusted advisor to the candidates with which you work or the leaders with which you work. We have been very fortunate to have a very engaged cohort of senior consultants in all of the programs that we've run. As Karen mentioned, we find that at least 7 years of experience is likely a good measure that you're at a point where it would be appropriate for you to join this cohort. And Brian Glade will talk a little bit more about that. We have participants from large global firms and also smaller regional firms. So there's an opportunity to learn from both of those experiences in the room. We like the content to have a global perspective. So global case examples. Typically there are approximately 10 countries represented through the participants in the room. So there's also an opportunity to learn from each other and hear some trends within global, different global regions. And for both the in-person and the virtual programs, we have technology to support the learning. So materials are provided virtually, and we work to make the virtual experience that will be in 2021 as interactive as possible. So considering the content of the program, we really, at the heart of the content that's selected in the learning design, consider the role of the search and leadership consultant. So how that role is evolving and all of the complexities and dynamic aspects of that role, particularly the need to understand organizational strategy, needs, and expectations, and balance that with an understanding of candidate and leader capabilities and expectations, and how the consultant sits at the center of that relationship and can sort of influence and really drive that relationship to success. In thinking about advancing the consultant role, we think about 4 core areas of content. So we want to provide participants the client perspective. So really gaining perspective on the needs of organizations and of candidates. And we do that through faculty content and through discussion in the room. The course content focuses on human capital trends that impact hiring and leadership development. So really, what are organizations focused on relative to talent and the capabilities of leaders, and how can you as a consultant understand that deeply so that you can advise and consult your clients relative to those needs. We'll also focus on you as a leader and a trusted advisor. So content that really helps you think about how you're developing as a leader individually within the industry, and also how you can act as a trusted advisor to candidates and to organizations. So there will be some skills and capabilities you'll learn in that area. And then in all content areas, it's important for us that the content is very practical. So we focus on providing frameworks and tools that you can apply daily in your role. So things you can tack up on the bulletin board and reference, models that you can use and reference later that will help you think about how you're able to act strategically as a consultant. So with all of those frameworks and content intentions in mind, we've selected the topics that you see in front of you for both the 2020 and the 2021 programs. For 2021, the session will take place in June. It will run June 22nd through the 26th. In Cornell ILR School's New York City conference facility. And that experience will be 5 days, each day running 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. With very engaging, interactive sessions with Cornell faculty and with expert practitioners from the search and leadership consulting industries. So we really want to blend faculty expertise with industry expertise, and in the room allow you many opportunities to connect with each other and learn from each other. In order to support that networking and connection, we also will be hosting a cocktail reception at the beginning of the week and a group dinner in New York City. So really what we aim for is an engaging, interactive week-long session. Again, classes from 9 to 4 to allow you some evenings to get your own work done, but also connect with each other. So a highly interactive in-person experience. For 2021, the topics are the same. This is an experience that will run virtually January through May. And so the look and feel of this is that as you'll register and then attend classes online, the times of the classes will rotate to allow for multiple global time zones, because again, we often have participants from countries from around the globe. And the sessions are recorded. And so to successfully complete this certificate, you'll be required to attend about half of the sessions live, allowing you some flexibility both due to time zones and also due to work that might come up along the way. But the sessions will be interactive, approximately 60 to 90 minutes long. It will be a similar format to this. So Zoom webinar, you'll have the opportunity to ask questions of faculty over audio, potentially on video, and really interact with each other. To create the same engagement that we have in the classroom, the virtual cohort will also have some short projects and participant activities that they'll work on outside of the learning experience. So in addition to these online courses, you'll also be connected with others in the cohort in order to think through some challenges that are relevant to the industry and do some exploration on your own as well through reading and reflection. So again, this platform for the virtual session will be like the one in front of you and as interactive as we can make it in a virtual context. So I will now hand the microphone over to Brian Glade, Managing Director at AESC, to talk about attendance and participant selection.
Thank you, Gwen. It's been my pleasure to be part of this program since its launch in 2012. Am I on video? Can you see me?
Yes.
Great. So I've been part of this program helping to launch it since 2012. And I have to say how exciting it is to see it be offered again in 2020 and 2021 with our new approach of providing both the classroom as well as the virtual to meet your needs. What I've seen is that the best participants in either format have been those who come prepared to really engage. We know that it's a significant commitment of your resources, both your time and financially. And so we want to make sure that you get the most out of it. But on the other hand, it's important for you to come prepared to really commit to it. We know that you have lots of commitments back in the office, but it's best if you come prepared to really dive in and be part of the program. We do, during the classroom version, we do allow time in the evenings for you to catch up on work, but during the day, it's really important that you are focused on the program. As Karen said, the ideal candidate for these programs is not someone who's new to search. We look for people who have actually gone through the process, have actually executed. They should be client-facing. Normally, that means you've had 5-7 years experience. We've had people with more than that who are still in a learning mode, but we find that if you're very new to search, this is not appropriate for you. It's not a how to do search, how to do leadership consulting. The participants have come from, as Gwen said, cohort has come from around the world, both global firms as well as local boutiques. We've had the largest firms participating alongside with those who are maybe more focused on a regional market. We also have had those who are in internal search. We have found that it's great to build bridges with those who are in those internal talent roles. And so there, in every cohort, we've had a few people who have come from the internal programs. So the ideal candidate really should be someone ready to move, to advance to the next level in their career, to really hone their skills as trusted advisors. And that's an underlying theme for all of the courses, is how do we position ourselves really to be the best consultants, and since that's how our profession began, and that's how we continue to serve clients as their consultants. We ask for feedback every year. As Karen said, we've adapted the program based on the feedback, based on the needs, based on the changes within the profession itself. And this is some examples of the feedback that we've gotten. Of course, participating in a program with Cornell faculty is probably the highlight of the course. But we also found that the interactions with peers, whether it's through the virtual program and the group projects and the online chats, or certainly in the classroom, these networks, we know from people who have participated as early as 2012, they're still in contact with those people they've gone through the program with. And so we have a very strong alumni group of over 120 people now around the world who have come through this. And people are still referring back to the resources that they learned, the learnings from the program. They still go back to some of the coursework for reference. And so I think it's a great program. Of course, I'm biased because we created this. I sat through the program myself, both the classroom and the virtual, and we're dedicated to making this the best educational experience for your professional development. I'd be glad to answer any questions. I'm always available, and Gwen will give my email address at the end of this. We're taking registrations now. We do look at your registration or application to be sure that you're appropriate for the class. So we're collecting those now, and Gwen will give you more information at the end of the program. So we look forward to having you as part of this experience. Thank you, Gwen.
So now I'll turn things over to Brad Bell, a professor of HR studies here at the ILR School, to tell you a bit about our school and the program experience.
Great, thanks, Gwen. And it's great to be with all of you today. I've been teaching in the AESC Cornell program now for a number of years and really enjoy the experience, as I think has been highlighted by the prior presenters. It's always been a very engaged group. It's been a very diverse and global group. And I've always found the kind of conversations, not only between myself and the participants, but also among the participants themselves, highly engaging, highly insightful. And as a faculty member, I always walk away with new insights from teaching in the program. So I want to tell you a little bit about the ILR School. We're actually celebrating our 75th anniversary this year. The ILR school really focuses its attention solely on the world of work. What that means is that we have faculty that essentially cover every area of the workplace and workplace issues. We have about 60 faculty currently. And so we cover everything from HR to organizational behavior to labor economics, labor law, collective bargaining, and other topics. And what this means for you is that really in this program, you get an incredible breadth of content coverage. As you saw in the earlier slides from Gwen, this program covers the range of topics relevant to executive search and leadership consulting and just talent more broadly. So that includes things like executive assessments, executive compensation, negotiation, inclusion and diversity, including leadership topics, becoming a trusted advisor, et cetera. So what you really get is a kind of broad as well as deep coverage of a variety of important and current talent topics. I think the other thing that Gwen also highlighted and others highlighted earlier is that our faculty really pride themselves on kind of bridging this science practice gap. The ILR school has many different centers, programs that are designed to connect our faculty with practitioners out in the field. And so what that means is that our faculty don't just sit in our office and write academic papers, but rather are constantly interacting with practitioners and leaders out in organizations to understand what are their current challenges, what do their programs look like. We pull those cases, we pull those best practices, and we integrate them into our teaching. As I stated earlier, I think a strength of this program overall is really its diverse audience and participants. Again, we have a diversity of faculty covering many different areas, but also a diversity of participants, both geographically as well as in a variety of different firms and in a variety of different roles. And so there's a lot of learning that occurs not only between faculty and students, but among the students themselves. So just to give you an idea of what one part of the program looks like, this is a topic that I've been teaching for a number of years in the program around talent management and succession strategy. I often teach this content to HR practitioners. And if you kind of look at a lot of different benchmarking reports that are out there, what you find is that HR leaders are really highly focused on talent issues today. But it's not just HR leaders, increasingly it's business leaders, CEOs, and members of the top management team that are saying their kind of core business issues today revolve around talent, including attracting and retaining top talent, as well as generating or developing the next generation of leaders within their firms. What we also know from a lot of research is that a lot of HR organizations struggle to do these two things well. They really struggle to identify their future talent. They struggle to really build a strong pipeline of leadership talent. And I see a real opportunity for all of you in your roles as executive search and leadership consultants to help advise and guide organizations in these areas. In part, that's because of the experience that you get working across a lot of different firms, across a lot of different industries, where you can provide these organizations with really key insights into different trends, as well as different opportunities that they can pursue. So this course is designed to provide some insight into how our organizations today internally thinking about a lot of these issues and to think about what your role can be to help advise and guide them in these different challenges that they're facing. So I look forward to hopefully interacting with you in the program. I'm really excited about the in-person. I've always taught in the program virtually, and again, the engagement has always been incredible virtually. So I'm really excited about the in-person program this summer because I can only imagine what the engagement and discussions in the classroom will look like. So with that, I'll turn it back to Gwen to open it up for some Q&A.
Thanks very much, Brad and Brian and Karen. So at this point, we want to leave some time for questions. So if you'd like to ask a question of the group, you can go ahead and write in the chat. You should see the option to speak through chat. on your screen at the bottom, on the toolbar there at the bottom of the Zoom window. So please feel free to ask us some questions, and I'll just take a moment to allow for questions to come in. I'm also going to skip ahead here to a couple of questions we've prepared in advance. So if nothing's coming to mind at the moment, feel free to answer some of the questions on the screen. So really, what interests you about participating in the program? What topics relative to your role as a trusted advisor do you feel would be very relevant to your work? And also, we'd be curious to know if you attended today with the intention of potentially attending our in-person or virtual program. As Brad mentioned, we've been running a virtual version of this program for quite a few years. We did also run an in-person delivery as well a couple of years ago, and we found both to be very effective. So we'd be curious to know which of these you're interested in.
And as you think about that, I'd like to remind everyone what Brian said, which is that if you have any questions at all following this webinar, or for those of you who are listening to the recorded session of the webinar, Brian is available. I think we're going to show his email, but it's bglade@aesc.org. You can send him an email, set up a call, and he'll be more than willing to talk to you about what people like about the program, answer your questions, or even put you in touch with prior attendees if you want to find out what they got out of the program. We're excited about offering this online in-person program as an alternative to the online. So we hope that you sign up, and we'll look forward to seeing you in June.
Great. And we did have one question come in. Is this program recognized in the industry? Has there been, is there a designation this training is part of? So I'll let Brian and Karen speak to that a bit. I will add at the start that the content would apply. We do provide continuing education units for attendance. If you have a certification through HRCI or the Society for HR Management, SHRM, you would also receive recertification credits for that if that's applicable to you. We're finding that this is a unique offering in the executive search and leadership consulting industries, particularly in the area of search. And as Brian mentioned, we have alumni cohort of about 150 people who've now gone through this. So it's really built quite a lot of momentum, and I believe is recognized in the search industry as a unique offering for senior level search executives. Brian and Karen, do you want to speak to this as well?
Brian?
Sure. Thank you, Gwen. Ranju, it's a good question. While there is no certification for executive search and leadership consulting, we actually created this as a way to identify the knowledge that is necessary to do to carry out those responsibilities. So while it's not a certification per se, we do know that the certificate carries value both within a firm as well as outside. Many of our alumni have the Cornell AESC Cornell certificate as part of their CV and their LinkedIn profile. So we do know that it's made a difference for people in their professional lives. I can answer the next question from Michelle. We're expecting at the in-person program in June to have about 20 people as part of the program.
And regarding the next question on the ethics portion of the program, so this webinar is taking place a few months in advance of the delivery, and AESC and Cornell have identified the area of ethics as really important research. We're in the mode of designing that portion of the program. So relative to data collection and GDPR compliance, we will most likely potentially touch on these things, but we'll have to post a more detailed description of that session in the coming weeks. It's actually good input to have this question from you. Brian, the deadline for the in-person program registration, I believe our registration is open leading up to very close to the June 22nd session.
It is, Gwen. We have two deadlines. For the in-person program, which begins in June, we'd like people, well, I'll say in terms of the registration, in order to get the early bird discount, you would have to register by the end of February 28th. And then for the virtual program next year, the deadline to register for the early bird discount would be September 1st. If you register after that for the June program, we really do want you to register by probably April, so we know who is in the class and we can start communicating with you about the program.
I'd like to say another word about GDPR. For those of you who are AESC members, we have a wealth of information on our members only portal on GDPR. But if that's a topic of interest, we could put together a quick summary handout to share with any attendees as well.
Thanks, Karen, that's great. You know, just to build on that, part of what we mentioned as far as the practical application of the sessions involves having our faculty meet with industry experts as they design their course materials and finalize their activities. So our focus is always to have the content as relevant as possible to the needs in the room. Any more questions before we close? I see we're at the half hour.
Looks like we have another question from Michelle. Are there aspects of the program relevant to business owners? I assume you mean business owners in the executive search and leadership consulting profession specifically. So Brian, Gwen, when you think about the content, how does that resonate for people who own their own businesses in this profession?
So Brian, I'll just jump in first. I think the interest in developing your capability as a trusted advisor and senior level consultant to organizations, and your ability to work with candidates and understand leadership challenges as a leadership consultant, the role of someone as a business owner would be enhanced through the enhancement of their consulting role. The course itself does not talk about strategies for marketing your organization or growing your business, you know, strategies for how you might like to grow your business. So the business strategy aspect of owning a search firm are not part of the content, but really the ability to deliver high value consultation and product through consultation services is the would be what I see as the benefit to a business owner. But Brian, do you want to add to that?
I agree with that. We don't get in the course, we don't get into operational issues in terms of owning or running a business. But I would say that the new addition of the client relationship management module certainly would get to how you get and keep clients, which is probably the most important thing to a business owner as a search and leadership consultant. So,
and I think as you explore your focus in your business, many of our members or many of the people in our profession are asking themselves, should we focus more on board work? Should we focus more on leadership advisory work? And so we'll have some programs that get into those issues as well. Again, not from an operational perspective, but from a client-facing perspective. So I would imagine everyone would get something out of it.
right. I can answer the next question, Gwen, from Juho. The cost of the program, I mentioned there's a discount for registering early. For AESC members, that would be $7,000. For non-members, that would be $8,000, and that's if you register for the in-class, the classroom version by the end of February. After that, it would be $7,500 for member and $8,500 for a non-member, and that's the same for both the classroom as well as the virtual program.
And Brian's information is up on the screen in case you have follow-up questions and would like to reach out to him.
Thank you, Gwen. I find many people, because this is a significant commitment, as I said, would benefit from maybe more conversation with me. And as Karen mentioned, I often introduce prospective students, candidates to others who have gone through the program so that they can get more personal testimonials about the value that they found from it. And I'm very glad to do that with anyone who would need that to help them make a decision.
Great. Well, I think that might have been our last question. Thank you everyone for attending. We really appreciate the discussion, the opportunity to share with you the programs that will be offered. And again, reach out to Brian if you have any questions about attending, if you'd like to speak with past participants. And we very much look forward to seeing you in one of our upcoming programs.